Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who Big Finish video. In today's Doctor Who Big Finish video, I'll be taking a look at this, the Crooked Man. Yes, I thought I'd review this in time for Halloween. I was going to review Night Thoughts as well, but time has escaped me. But I will review Night Thoughts very soon actually, probably be one of the next videos I do, because I do want to review Night Thoughts. So for the Halloween special, I thought I'd have a look at the Crooked Man, because it is quite a creepy audio, especially the Crooked Man, very spine-chilling villain. So without further ado, let's look at the presentation for this release, and then we'll go into my thoughts on the actual story itself. So take a look at the presentation for this release. So we've got a lovely sort of bookshop background there, Leela the Fourth Doctor and the rather creepy Crooked Man jumping out of a book there. And of course I got my copy signed by Louise Jameson, the Doctor Who logo there with the Fourth Doctor banner, The Crooked Man by John Dorney. The side of the release and the back of the release there if you want to know more about the story. And the total running time being 1 hour, and there is the cast list for this story as well. So take a look at the leaflet. So we've got producer's notes by David Richardson, some cast photos there behind the scenes, and again writer's notes by John Dorney, and more people involved within the actual story, advertisement for Doctor Who magazine, and the next instalment, The Evil One, and a bit more information and credits there for the actual release, and the reversible cover if you want to have the Fourth Doctor era logo, and the disc art for this release. Doctor Who The Crooked Man by John Dorney. The third story in the third series of the Fourth Doctor adventures. Now series 3 is full of intriguing stories and fan favourite monsters, from the excellent King of Sontar, Destroy the Infinite, sing the Fourth Doctor battle the Eminent from Dark Eyes, and Master featuring in the Evil One, and of course the series finale being Zygon Hunt. So series 3 is full of stories to get people excited about. So is The Crooked Man a highlight from the series? Absolutely. This story is another well-crafted story by John Dorney, a perfect story for this time of year. Part 1. So we start the story off in a bookshop with Laura handing over some of her father's books to be sold. So Laura as a character is getting closure from it, and she's hoping that somebody is gone, but who has gone from her life? Why does she want to get rid of these books? Obviously you'll find out that in the actual story why she wants to get rid of them. So this bit leads to some fantastic sort of traditional horror moments, building up tension to the reveal of the Crooked Man, with the Crooked Man lurking in the shadows, with the Doctor and Leela visiting the seaside town, with the Doctor wanting to teach Leela to continue the theme of the teacher-student relationship, which is sort of the main thematics of series 3 of the Fourth Doctor adventures, with Leela and the Doctor beginning that sort of teacher-student relationship, which was sort of there in the TV series, but Big Finish, especially in series 3, really did expand on that sort of thematics between those two characters. But in actual fact, they're here to investigate 12 unexplained murders, with the Doctor having a chilling speech about death being in the air. Now that really does set the atmosphere of the story up very well, and this leads to a fantastic and one of the standout moments of the story for me. One of the standout moments for me in the story is the Crooked Man when he kills a character within it, with the sort of character being filled and being suffocated by pages of a book. That his body's basically been stuffed full of book pages, and that's how he's died, from sort of being, stuffed by book pages. So it's rather grim, and that leads to some absolutely creepy and unsettling sound design, which is brilliant. And one thing about this story is the sort of juxtaposition, because obviously you've got that quite horrific moment, and then we have this sort of domesticated moment with Laura and her family, especially between her baby Edward. So we get that sort of horrific moments, and then you sort of have the more domestic side, with obviously Laura and her baby. So it's quite a nice little sort of juxtaposition, with the Doctor and Leela investigating the murders, which does have a sort of fantastic atmosphere to it. I think that's one thing what I love about this part in particular, is the atmosphere, and that's one thing what I think is a really strong thing about this story. With the Doctor and Leela's investigations all leading back to the character Laura, as this story very much centres around her. So we learn, what is Laura hiding, what's so important about this manuscript. So we have some more chilling moments with the Crooked Man, with the Doctor and Leela having tea, but with a deadly twist. So, why is the Doctor intrigued about these murders, as the details all lead back to Laura, with Leela confronting the Crooked Man, all leading to a terrific cliffhanger. So this part is incredibly solid, fantastic horror moments, wonderful atmosphere, and I will say that this story doesn't waste any time to get right into the actual plot of the adventure. Part 2, so this is when we're introduced to the fantastic concept as we revisit the land of fiction, but the more disturbing part of the land of fiction, the sort of forgotten bits, the lesser well known characters of the land of fiction, because the land of fiction is becoming crowded, and some fictional characters, in order to survive, they have to escape the land of fiction. That's why some sort of fictional characters are seeping out into the real world, because apparently there's a dimensional sort of area, what's sort of a weak point in the barrier where these characters can, jump out and, visit this, escape into this sort of seaside town. So that's a really fantastic idea. So it's really nice that we explore the sort of more deranged side of land of fiction, this sort of crooked sort of house, with the actual world sort of, with this sort of side of the land of fiction being like an MC Escher sort of painting, which is a very, very interesting picture to actually paint in your mind. So it's a really good sort of world building of this more sort of deranged land of fiction, what we sort of saw in the Mind Robber. So it's great to see the Fourth Doctor return to the land of fiction. So we see the Doctor and crew face various creatures from the land of fiction, more lesser known creatures, with the Crooked Man plan in full action, with us learning how first edition books are the most powerful. And we have some very interesting twists, and it has quite an emotional ending to it, I feel, this story, with the Doctor and Leela having quite a nice way to wrap up this story, with them playing some crazy golf. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting story, and I'm not going to say too much on part 2 because that's where the main sort of plot points sort of come into play, and I don't really want to spoil this story because, it is a good story. The Doctor, played by Tom Baker, what an absolute joy. You can tell that Tom is in high spirits, with him giving a superb performance from the classic sharp, witty dialogue, with him going, I can tell I'm on the right track when people are trying to kill him. We have some fantastic stern authority moments when he's leading his investigations. We get some traditional Fourth Doctor speaking to himself, what, just feels very direct at you as a listener, so you feel like it is him talking to you. We have that sort of great sense of urgency when he realises sort of the universe is at stake. So Tom Baker gives a fantastic performance. Leela, played by Louise Jameson, a fantastic performance with that sort of classic hunter skills, with her using her senses as she senses the Crooked Man lurking in the shadows, and she's determined to help the Doctor, and we continue, she's very determined to continue her learning. With Leela getting some fantastic moments, that sort of classic Leela dialogue, why would you want to eat rock? And her literal mind really comes in handy when facing the Crooked Man. Laura, played by Sarah Smart, a wonderful performance, bringing this sweet motherly character to life, but also is kind of troubled and haunted by something. And the story very much centres around her, especially how it links in with her father. The Crooked Man, played by Neil Stoke, a fantastic, damn right creepy performance. I would have been interested to hear some of the sort of alternative takes, as Nick Briggs, when he was directing this, made sort of Neil sort of tone it down a bit. So it would have been very interesting to see more of a deranged performance. I mean, the performance in this is fantastic and utterly creepy, with that sort of maniacal laugh and him just being very deranged and just very creepy. The way he sort of manipulates people and haunts people, the way he lurks in the shadow. It's just fantastic sort of horror bits, and a really good little villain to feature within this story, and a really great idea actually. The design of the Crooked Man sort of reminds me of Eldrad. So what are my overall thoughts on the Crooked Man? Well, the Crooked Man is a chilling story, with part 1 having a superb atmosphere, really showcasing the dynamic between the Fourth Doctor and Leela, and the Crooked Man is just a spine-chilling addition to the Big Finish monster catalogue. The concept of a twisted land of fiction is brilliant, and I'll leave that for you to discover if you want to pick up the story. But I think the only downside I have for this story is that in part 2 it does lose some of the atmosphere what part 1 built up, but I think that's more down to the location shift, obviously swapping from the sort of more sort of seaside town to the land of fiction. You sort of lose that atmosphere, which I think's the only real negative I have for it. It's still a strong part, but I feel like part 1 is the part I enjoyed more, and I thought that was very solid. But I definitely think that the land of fiction does offer some, some great scary moments with obviously these very different creatures, and the idea of a sort of land of fiction sort of becoming more full, and these creatures need to escape, otherwise, they'd die. So it's a very interesting idea by John Dorney, and again, it's a solid story. It's by John Dorney, so you know that you're going to get a very solid story. And like I said, this is very much a perfect story to listen to, especially this time of year, especially part 1 when the Crooked Man kills people. Fantastic, very eerie stuff, very sort of rich character story, characters full of heart and very detailed, especially Laura. And it's a very strong addition to the Fourth Doctor Big Finish catalogue. So I really did enjoy the Crooked Man, especially part 1. So I'm going to give the Crooked Man a well-deserved 8 out of 10. I think that it is a very solid story, but like I said, for me, part 2, it does lose some of the atmosphere. But still, it's definitely worth listening to. Fantastic character interactions between the Fourth Doctor and Leela, and definitely one to check out. It is a very good one, so I did enjoy that one. So thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. So thank you very much, and goodbye.